What's the craziest project you guys handled? What's the wildest thing that's come across your desk?
The wildest thing. I'm going to need a second to think about this because we do a lot of crazy stuff. I mean, the wrestling is one thing. But, really, the craziest stuff that we get to do. Obviously the pro wrestling is great because I mean that is definitely a passion project for me and helping to build and seeing people that we've worked with that are on like your television on Monday and Friday nights on in prime time or Wednesdays or basically every night of the week. It's like, hey, I remember working with that guy. Like that's really cool to be like involved in something like that the way that we have been for so many years. But the craziest thing for us is. The craziest thing for us, it would probably have to be the SA International that I explained. Being able to travel around and get to film something exciting like motorsports like that, and it's an educational thing on top of things. So you get to see students from across the country, from all around the world, because we see kids from Poland, Austria, Brazil, India. China, it's really everywhere and all kind of converging on this event, and then being next to people from General Motors and Ford and SpaceX and Tesla, wow. and other companies that have learning like what exactly does Bosch do in automotive, through our interviews and everything with these sponsors on these competitions. And learning more about that. And I'm not a car guy. I'm not a motorsports guy, but it's an exciting field to be around and capture those kinds of things.
Where's the wildest place that your job has taken you?
Thailand. It was actually because of my some of my relationships with people in the business. There was a wrestler who goes by Chess Flexor. And he offered me a free trip to Thailand to basically be a cameraman on their honeymoon, to follow them around and capture all of the interesting things that happen. Like that is, I mean, again, it was like I was kind of paid in trip, but it was just like, it was a job because following them and seeing Thailand was incredible. And, that's the only time that I've left the continent. And having that opportunity, that's been the greatest thing, is the opportunity to get out of Pittsburgh to do some of this work in the cool places that it's taking us.
And that's why we were so thrilled to bring Sidekick Media Services on. I mean, not only are you super talented, but you're international, right? And
that's right.
You're local in Pittsburgh, but you're around the world.
As we often said on our Wrestling Mayhem show, when we got that one person listening in Cairo, we are international superstars.
Hi, my name's Brian Crawford with PGHmuseums.org, and over the next several weeks, I'll be talking with artists, museum directors, and even the general manager of a professional sports team. Due to the COVID-19 coronavirus, we'll be practicing social distancing and speaking over video, and talking about how the virus is affecting the people who make our culture community work. We'll be discussing how it's affecting their lives, how they're staying creative, overcoming challenges, and how they plan to bounce back when we can all leave our homes again. Please join me for COVID Conversations. I am here with Michael Sorg of Sidekick Media Services and Sorgatron Media. Sidekick Media Services built the website, pghmuseums.org, that you guys love to frequent. Right now, we're a little dry. There's nothing happening. Everything is closing down. So we thought this would be a great opportunity to go behind the scenes and unveil the curtain that is PGH Museums and find out the players involved. And when we first started the project, I knew I needed some support, and I thought, what better support motive than a sidekick? So I ordered Sidekick Media Services. I hired you guys to build the website, and build the website you did, and it's fantastic. Everybody loves it. Michael, how old is Sidekick Media Services?
Sidekick Media Services is only a few years old, and it's actually kind of a spinoff from what originally was Sorgatron Media, which was just me working and giving a name to my freelancing, and it's kind of grown and My wife became part of the team. We would do a lot of projects with Katie Dutters, some people know her as. And we wanted to kind of grow than just a guy with a company with his name in it, right? So that's what became part of that. So Sorgatron Media still exists as the place, the building. We have a studio here in Beachview, as well as a fledgling podcast network, and we try to have a variety of content and help others making podcasts and kind of bring them in the fold, so everybody can grow. But yeah, Sidekick itself has been around for I think 3 or 4 years now.
So, like, what kind of products do you work on with Sidekick Media Services? What do you do?
Well, there's podcasts, because that's kind of where a lot of it came from, but a lot of video production as well, websites, obviously, like we've done with you guys, and social media work as well. And it's everything from, again, a podcast like podcasts that kind of look and sound like this, in video and streaming, live stream events. We do a lot with professional wrestling, including producing some of the shows and creating a platform to distribute and sell a lot of those. And we do nuts and bolts following one client we do. SAE International has a collegiate design series where the college students are making Baja cars and Formula cars and RC planes and go and actually race them or run them and demonstrate that they work. We do the podcast leading into it informationally to help distribute that, changes in the rules or introduction for new people to the competition that year. And then we go film the events and do highlight videos and special content based on that.
Very cool. And I know so much work goes into so much of these details. I just look at like my project, and I'm sure you've worked on projects that are bigger than PGH Museums, but I look at that project alone, and there's over 400 listings of museums, galleries, historic places, creative spaces, and so on. And I imagine that is painstakingly boring and tedious. How many hours went into building the PGH Museums website? Do you know?
Multiple hours. And one of the beautiful things is, and I've done web design myself, for about 20 years, and knew enough that I wanted to focus more on the video and podcasting side. But Missy is such a great detail-oriented person. She was kind of the perfect person to pick that up. And I know she spent days on data entry, designing the thing, making sure everything works, all the nuts and bolts are in there for you, and building into your specs over there.
Yeah, I was watching it, and that's the part that's boring to me. Like, I just got on Adderall so I could start getting through this kind of stuff because it's boring. Like, I helped put together the directory, but I can't imagine just sitting there and re-entering it again and again and again. And right now we were working on some of the processes to form our 501c3, and some of the paperwork I had to do for that was just really boring, and it's hard to get through that stuff. So it's great to have somebody like Missy who has the wherewithal and the due diligence to muscle through that.
Well, remember that she's coming from a law background. She was a paralegal for probably about 15 years, and so she knows how to get her head into what needs to get done. And she's picked up and learned all the web design stuff, in the last several years. Has become great. She's doing Photoshop stuff now that is just incredible. It's like, I'm like, man, I don't know if I did Photoshop that good. Some of the stuff that she's turning out lately.
So you deal with a lot of characters. You deal with me. You deal with. I know I'm a character. I can be tough to deal with. You deal with other difficult people without doxing anyone, unless you want to dox me. Without doxing anyone, what is more challenging? Putting together the projects, the websites, the podcasts, the videos, all of this multimedia, or dealing with weirdos and crazies?
We really work on our relationships with people to make sure that people understand what's happening, understand what they're getting out of this, understand our methods, if that makes any sense. So like, Brian, working with your project, I mean, you and you and Missy obviously had a relationship from projects that we've done, over the years, of course. So it's easy to kind of work around that. When we bring a new one on, we just have like some pretty frank conversations with them about, what to expect out of the project. When somebody comes to me and they want a podcast, and I want a podcast and it's going to get sponsorships worth $100,000, it's like, okay, we need to have a conversation about this and have some real expectations and goals. And then again, something else where it's kind of a sponsored piece and we're working with a company, it's like, okay, what is the content? What are you trying to get across here? And it's been strangely easy to work with a lot of our clients.
So basically, that's a really nice way of saying that PGH Museums and me, we were just kind of under the radar, and we snuck in before you clamped down. And
yeah, let me tell you about this one time with Brian.
So everything is closed. The world has stopped. We're dealing with this huge social distancing campaign to try to stop the spread of the COVID-19 virus. And a lot of museums are really struggling. They're furloughing people. The Carnegie Museum system has closed all 4 of their museums for an additional 2 months since this episode was recorded, and furloughed a lot of their staff. Other staff are taking reduced pay and working from home. It's crazy, and they'll survive. They have some great resources, but some of these museums are really going to struggle. They don't have the resources to draw from. A lot of them are run mostly by volunteers. They have one paid professional, and the rest of them are volunteers. So what can they do to keep people's interest during this downturn, during this phase of dormancy? What can they do to keep their audience and their members and their fans interested and engaged going forward?
Well, the fortunate thing is, this is strange. It's probably a little weird to say, but this is probably the best time that something like this would happen. Because if this was 20 years ago, there's really not much you could do to keep in people's minds. And I think that's the biggest thing, is to at least keep in people's minds, so that when this is over, people can walk through the door and keep continuing to support you in that way. There's a lot of, you have social media, you'll have live streaming like we're doing here, because normally Brian will be right here on the couch across from me, but because of social distancing and we close our doors to the public, but we can still do something like this. If there is a chance, if you don't already yet, now is a great time to start a podcast about your museum. Now is a great time to start a video series about your museum. And it does not take much. If you are a museum with a limited budget, chances are somebody in your staff has one of these guys, an iPhone, an Android device, a computer, and these, you're walking around with a studio. And I think that's the thing to remember. You're walking around with a TV studio. When you go watch Colbert and those guys, a lot of them, Fallon, I think for sure, is using an iPhone, is using, this kind of technology. And that is what you're seeing. And these are people that are used to spending, hundreds of thousands of dollars on an episode of their show, with how many people staffed out. And now they're just like, okay, we're going to make the video, and then I'm going to Dropbox it or Google Drive it over to the editor, and we're going to do this, and we're going to organize the show on Zoom or Skype or whatever it is people are using these days. And that really kind of shows, like, man, if that's they're doing, and I got all the same stuff basically in my pocket, I think we can do something here. Anything to still relay that story, that message of what you guys are doing, and that not only helps you there, it could also help you if you have not already kind of looked at a social media strategy. And this is a conversation I have had a lot of times with people that worked in nonprofits over the years, and they would tell me about if you don't need social media for today, you need it so you have people that will support you when you need it. Mm-hmm. You don't need, and if you were doing social media up until now and getting a really good audience out of it, now is the time. If you do have something like, hey guys, please buy a gift card. Hey guys, we got our online gift shops open. Now is the time where you can sort of cash in that good faith that you've been building over this time. But in the meantime, if you're new to it, this is a good time to start. There's no better time to start than right now, not yesterday. You're right now. if you haven't done it yet. And again, a podcast, which is maybe going to be a little easier for some people because then it is just voice. You don't have to worry about a lens in front of you. You can talk about just the story of the museum, parts of the museum, exhibits from the museum, stories of the staff or things like that. We actually talked about recently on our Awesome Cast a great story about a cowboy museum, and this is all over the news. You can probably find it pretty easy. And real or not, they had apparently given a social media account, the Twitter account, to their security guard, who was wonderfully tweeting from it and telling people about exhibits. And it was, a security guard that maybe had never tweeted before. And, his nephew told him to use hashtags. But instead of we're used to the # word for a hashtag, he was spelling out the word #John Wayne. And it was the greatest. Again, it just had this internet buzz. I now know about this cowboy museum in Oklahoma or Nebraska or whatever it was. I'll go find it when I want to go look it up. That's now in your head, and even 3 months from now when everything's opened back up, and I take a trip through whatever state that was. Randomly I would go to Nebraska for a client. I'd be like, wait, isn't that cowboy museum here? If that's the case, hell, I think I'll stop in. If I can in my travels. That's the thing that gets you on people's minds, and that's another way that you could do something there.
So in other words, you can literally not have any idea what you're doing and somehow create a buzz.
Just look at late night. Look at
Yeah. One thing I'm really trying to recommend for people is to take a look at the calendar at pghmuseums.org, which I think is one of our greatest assets. And I know Missy put a lot of time into organizing that and making that incredible. And it's an image that I like to share a lot because I think it shows the strength of the website and what the website can offer people. And I feel like this time, because let's face it, people are going to be poor once we come out of this. Mm-hmm. The people right now who aren't working, most of them were not in jobs that were paying top dollar anyways. A lot of those people get to work from home, or I guess some of them could have been laid off in some industries, some of the blue collar industries, that they could have been making a lot of money, but they're not gonna make the money they were. And with the stimulus check that's coming out, I'm not knocking it. I think it's important that it comes out, but it's if I were to get $1,200 and I wasn't working right now, that would cover maybe my rent and utilities. I wouldn't have money left over to eat. So people are going to be struggling, and they're going to be anxious for things to do. And there are a lot of museums at pghmuseums.org that are free or very, very affordable. You can go and not only have a great experience, a really enjoyable experience, you can educate yourself and culture yourself for $5 in some instances, instead of spending $30 to go to a show or something like that. You can spend this little bit of amount of money and really entrench yourself in the local history or the art community here in southwestern Pennsylvania. And I think now is the time to really create that list, that I'm trying to think of how to describe it, that to-do list of museums to go to travel to. In the map is a great tool because you can find where you live and find the museums right around your house, and even find navigation options to those museums because it is attached through Google Maps. So you can really map out your escape from the house when we finally are let out of. It feels like when we're finally let out of jail. That's what it feels like. It feels like we're all on house arrest. I mean, it's necessary. I'm not knocking it, but I know a lot of people are going to be very anxious to get out into the real world again. And I think that what PGH Museums offers is really the tools to do that in a way that is affordable for people who are going to be coming into a recession. I mean, I think it's going to be at least a recession. It's going to be pretty dark because the economy everything's been shut off really for it'll be for over a month. So I think that it's going to be a struggle for people, and I think that this could be a great tool.
Absolutely, and that's really important what you're saying there about, especially if there are some tough times coming out of this, and this tough time, this is a great time to kind of see what is around you. look through that directory in the map and kind of make that plan and be like, look, and this was like, oh, I didn't know this was in my backyard, and I think that's a good opportunity. Or I didn't know that museum was by, Aunt Joe's. Maybe we'll swing by there next time we have an opportunity to visit and we're able to visit. I think that's really important, and kind of making that escape plan, but also just kind of exploring. And, maybe you have a little bit of time on your hands. And this is a good time to to do that exploring.
Yeah, and it's free, and that's one thing. We are in the works of becoming a nonprofit 501c3, as soon as we get the revenue together and stuff like that. So our mission is to connect you to these museums. So we don't charge you to access the directory and the vital resources that are necessary to learn and educate yourself. That's all available for free at pghmuseums.org. So I think it's a great opportunity for people.
Awesome. Well, it's been a really fun project. It's cool to see, one of your brainstorms growing into something real over the last year or so with this project. And I think I saw some old notes about when you guys started this, and I can't believe you've been at the PGH Museums for as long as you have been already.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see where it goes. We have a really great group of people working on it. We just added a few new people. And I'm really excited to see the direction we're going. And I think we have the staff to make it happen, as long as I can keep the energy up and keep moving along. Enough B12 vitamin pills going through me. And
this is the thing. You need to get on your Skype, Zoom, whatever, and do an online pep rally for your volunteers or your employees or wherever the case may be. There's a good time for that. There's a good time if you have Slack. We have a Slack with everybody that we collaborate with here with the Sorgatron Media Sidekick, and I get in there a couple times a week. And just
Slack is a business messaging outlet just for people who don't know.
Some people it's Microsoft Teams or whatever the case may be. Whatever your business connecting thing is, if you have that place, if there's nothing to do because the museum's closed, still check in with everybody. I think that's very important if you are a museum to help keep those relationships going or build in this time. It's a team building exercise apart from each other.
Yeah, I hope you join our team at pghmuseums.org. We're always looking for new members if you're in a position to join. If not, I hope you explore the website, and I hope you take advantage of all of the resources that we have to offer. That's pghmuseums.org. This is Michael Sorg with Sidekick Media Services. Give a little plug for your business. What do you want people to know about Sidekick?
Well, if you're looking for something to consume in this time, we got a couple of things going on. Sorgatronmedia.com is our podcast network. A lot of great things happening there, including we are doing a live stream with Yajagoff, the podcast Yajagoff and blog, I guess. It's a live stream on Wednesday nights where at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, where there is a comedian and a musician, and they are actually being paid $100 by sponsors to help them in this downtime for the arts on that side. But we're still raring and going with our great lineup of podcasts. Everybody's finding a way to connect and make it happen, whether that be a Thrifty Podcast, who they don't have Goodwill stores, so they've been doing things, Wrestling Mayhem Show, Awesome Cast, and just a whole bunch of Comic Book Pit. Are not coming in studio, but they're making things happen and talking about comic books, plenty of time to read. IndieWrestling.us, IndieWrestling.network if you're interested in professional wrestling, and especially here in the Pittsburgh area, Cleveland, West Virginia, we have a lot of stuff going on. And we're still putting together some new releases, even though there are not as... we did like 5 to 8 live events every month, and now it's we have a lot of backstock of footage that we're actually pushing out the door. So everybody has plenty of stuff to watch here in the meantime. And of course, SidekickMediaServices.com if you're interested. If you need a sidekick in your superhero project, go over there and we can help you out in whatever you're trying to get and figure out in these times to keep you connected.
Explore some of the region's most dynamic murals in one of the most fascinating venues with the Society to Preserve the Millville Murals of Maxovanka. The Society works with the St. Nicholas Croatian Catholic Church to provide tours of the 25 murals painted on the church sanctuary walls. A mixture of religious and social commentary can be found with inspirations from World War II. What would it be like growing up in a church surrounded in these murals? We asked docent manager and church attendee Andrew Stefanik.
You'd always be finding something new when you were sitting here during Mass or during other ceremonies. And you'd lose track of Mass, and your eyes would wander about the murals, and you would find something new. And even to this day, every time I come in here, I find something new in the murals.
Is there anything a visitor observed that's new to Andrew?
Absolutely. There are so many. Almost every time, and I would say the best tours are when somebody comes in and discovers something new or points something out new to me. And I would say my favorite parts about the tours that I give is the information that I share that I've gotten from others and gotten from visitors that were no experts or had no specific expertise, but just their attention was drawn to something specific.
Learn how these iconic murals connect you to the past and discover what they could teach you about the present with a tour from the Society to Preserve the Millville Murals of Max Ivanka. Find out more at vankamurals.org. Thank you for listening to COVID Conversations, a special series for PGH Museums, produced and edited by me, Brian Crawford. Support PGH Museums by joining our membership program at pghmuseums.org/join. Our music is Energy 2013 by Sasha Endy and can be found at filmmusic.io and licensed under the Creative Commons. Let us know how you're keeping your spark in these trying times. Email me at brian@pghmuseums.org. Stay safe, keep your distance, and keep creating.